Yeah.
About that.
It's showtime.
Welcome to the YATCast. This episode is about science. But first, I would like to give thanks to all my real-life and social media friends and others who forced me to delve deeper into things to find the underlying cause. They forced me to determine why things are or are not. They forced me to think about things in a way to see what could be or what cannot be. So, let's get started. This is the second episode where I had an epiphany while writing it up. This is one reason I enjoy doing these. Listen through this episode so you will understand when I share the epiphany at the end. A warning: do not confuse science with technology. I will be covering the difference in a future episode. Whether you hate science or just distrust it, this one is definitely for you. Everyone else, you may find some interesting things in this one. Let's start with the basics. The definition of science is the intellectual and practical activity encompassing the systematic study of the structure and behavior of the physical and natural world through observation and experiment. The etymology of science traces the root back to the Proto-Indo-European word ske and dates back to the later Neolithic era, about 7,000 years ago. It means to cut or split apart. The Neolithic era is when humans transitioned from hunter-gatherer to agrarian societies. Proto-Indo-European words are words from the Neolithic period that transcend language groups in European and West Indonesian areas. It operates on the hypothesis that all the Indo-European languages stem from a common ancestral language. Oh, don't take my pronunciation of ske as the actual pronunciation. Most likely it isn't even close. So, taking these together, what we basically have is that science is the, quote, splitting apart of things to learn the how, what, where, when, and why of things, close quote. In a nutshell, that's it. However, there's more to it that needs to be understood. There are those who claim it goes against religion. Some claim it is a religion or a cult. Some even go so far as to say it is all a lie or a hoax. It is none of those. In fact, without science, life would not have evolved past immobile single-cell organisms. There is nothing about today's society that would exist without it. Absolutely nothing. I'm serious. Really. I know. It's a pretty bold statement, but can I back it up? Let's see. To get started, let us look at the scientific method. This is a formalized system to approach something. It has several steps: observation, hypothesis, testing, and analyzing. Some form of record keeping is required so that it can be transmitted to others so that they may test it themselves or make use of it. In the scope of time that encompasses humanity, the scientific method, as it currently exists, is a fairly recent thing. Galileo is credited as the father of modern science for his work in astronomy and mathematics. He made extensive use of record keeping and the scientific method. He isn't the last, nor is he the first to use it. The first person that we know who used the scientific method lived about 2,300 years ago. He was a philosopher. His name was Aristotle. In 2004, Riccardo Pozzo gave the most succinct reason why he is the father of the scientific method. Quote, "As regards his method, Aristotle is recognized as the inventor of the scientific method because of his refined analysis of logical implications contained in demonstrative discourse, which goes well beyond natural logic and does not owe anything to the ones who philosophized before him." Close quote. Using this new method, he and his students made great strides in the understanding of the world around them. They delved into physics, astronomy, geology, biology, and psychology. For thousands of years before Aristotle, and for hundreds of years after him, different cultures had different ways of explaining things that were inadequate in various ways. This holds true even today. Yet, even within those various cultures, the basics of the scientific method were in use. They just weren't formalized. For example, in the Bronze Age, which is defined by the making of bronze, the making of bronze came as a result of the scientific method. By mixing copper with various other elements, such as aluminum, manganese, nickel, and/or zinc, and others, produced bronze with various different properties. How the refining of these elements came about is the result of the scientific method. At some point, apprentices were taught how to do it. Some would then extend it even further. Going back into the lithic eras, Paleo, Meso, Neo, the finding and manipulation of stone was driven by science. Determining the value and uses of various species of wood and plants used science. Although you could call it trial and error. In either case, knowledge was gleaned. At some point, apprentices were taught how to do it. Some would then extend it even further. Going further back in time, even animals have a rudimentary understanding of the scientific process. Where seasons changed, they learned to adapt, or to migrate, or they would die. Plants, of necessity, had to learn to adapt. While adaptation for plants was just recorded in their genetics, animals had it recorded in their genes and learned from observation. So, at the beginning I said about single-cell organisms. Okay, going further back in history, we come to the first life on this planet, single-cell organisms. This is where it all begins. The immobile single cells were at the mercy of their environment. If they didn't adapt to their environment, they died. Those that did passed their adaptation on to their progeny. The ones that adapted by developing mobility could move toward environs that benefited them, or they could follow a moving environment. In either case, single-cell organisms have one thing going in their favor. They reproduce anywhere from every couple of minutes to just a few days. So this means that successful adaptations were passed on very quickly. The adaptations were recorded in their genes. Here are the takeaways, especially for the science deniers. 1. It is true that science doesn't care if you believe in it or not. It just is. It is an inherent part of life. 2. Science does not require conscious effort. For example, if you step on a Lego with a bare foot, it hurts. Now, I know some of you cringed at the mere mention of stepping on Legos. Your body automatically runs the scientific method, and you won't do it again. Hopefully. 3. Science builds upon previous knowledge and is inherently self-correcting. Nothing in science is ever final. However, certain things are grabbed, generally regarded as true. 4. I used to think that science was just about gaining knowledge, but now I know I was wrong. This is the epiphany. Science is not about just gathering knowledge. Science is about survival. Period. Thank you for spending some time with me, and I'll see you at the next YATCast.
Are you enjoying the YATCast? Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. And consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/YATCast. That's https://www.patreon.com/YATCast.